So whenever you guys make an e-learning course, or you have done any kind of web-based course, you want to break your course. I really just say that you want to test out all the different pieces to make sure that it's going to work before you get it in front of your learners. And you really want to try and break your course and review it before you even get anybody else's feedback. So there is actually a shortcut to your review process, and I want to make sure that this template, it's a Trello board template, is in the resources for the Academy. It actually wasn't there. I guess the link was wrong or whatever, but I went and made sure and put a valid link up there in resources. If you go to templates for everything, and under there's Trello board templates, there is this checklist right here, and it looks like this. So you'll just create the board from a template, and what it does, it goes through all the different things that you want to test, right? Your general design. So is it uniform in appearance? Are the branding guidelines right? Is the logos appropriate? And there's a whole checklist here for you. Your text content, right? Is your language clear? Spelling been checked? Your grammar? The text is general neutral, no plagiarism, yada, yada, right? Fonts, right? And so there's a whole bunch of checklists that you can use to QA your course. It's a lot to remember, right? To check all these things. And so what you can do is just keep, making this board, making a copy of it for every course that you QA, or you can just make one copy, QA a course. When you're done, you can just clear it out and do it again. And then it even goes into graphics. And of course, this QA checklist, right? You can also use this QA checklist before you even get to the QA process, right? Maybe when you are starting to build out your full course, you can kind of look at this checklist to see, right? What your end goal is, to make sure that all these things are checked off. And so you want to do it while you're actually doing your development. And then it's got quiz information here, right? Navigation that you'll have to check, especially if you're doing like a storyline course. A player menu. This is definitely for more of the heavy lifting. Authoring tools like Storyline and Captivate. Testing. Accessibility. And more testing. So this is a great checklist for you guys, and we have it as a template. And so you can just, I'll drop the link in the chat too. Oh, good. Jasmine found it. Yep. There it is. And there's the direct link to Trello if you guys want to add it right now. Okay. So I had to show you that. We definitely want to take things the easy route. I mean, this is pretty clear, but we test our courses to find out if our learners are learning, right? So we look for the structure of the course. And of course, you want to look for this in your script and in your outline. But sometimes you just don't catch it till the end. And so that's fine too. But, that is another thing that we look for when we're testing our course, the credibility and reputation of the course and our creators. And that's another reason why we test our course, right? If you have typos, grammar errors, if things just look kind of sloppy, then you lose credibility of even just the instruction that you're presenting. So that's another reason why we test our course. The functionality, right? If you can't get past the slide, then you don't even get the rest of the course. And that would be a total bummer. And you'll get a ton of emails from angry learners, and then, or at least the ones that want to finish the course, and then to catch any errors that you find. And as you guys have seen over and over again throughout the Academy, right? You can test your own scripts and reread them and proofread, and you can test your own courses, but you really just, when you're that close to it, you're just not going to catch everything. Nobody is. No matter how experienced you are, you're just not going to catch everything when you're too close to it. And so whenever you test your course, after you've gone through your own QA, you have to get fresh eyes on your course, right? And so usually what that looks like in the workplace is that could be your teammates, it could be the SMEs, it could be the stakeholders. But you definitely want that first round to be somebody that, you can trust, and that they can really catch some of those like no-brainer errors before you send it out to your SMEs and your stakeholders, if at all possible. Unless you were in a role like mine, where I was in charge of all the pieces, right? The design, the development, the analysis, and all those other kinds of pieces. And so I didn't have anyone else to review except for the VP of HR. And I let her know that that's the way it was going to be. And so she would have to catch some of my stupid errors. And so you just want to make sure you're going to have somebody that can look at it before, your stakeholders and those other people. You also want to determine the number of reviews at the beginning of your project, especially when you know that there are people that are going to need to review it, like your stakeholders, your SMEs, and your learners. And so with your storyboard, what I mean is it can be your script, right? Remember I talked about that when we talked about powerful process, about how, especially if you're doing the development, you don't need to be doing storyboarding. And so I use it interchangeably. Storyboard can be a text storyboard, or it can be a full storyboard that you're going to hand off to a developer. How many reviews are going to do for your prototype, right? And then you're going to get it updated with feedback. And then the alpha, beta, gold. And so usually I use a prototype as my alpha, but you could also do another 3 rounds. You just want to decide what it is so that you can set expectations, right? A lot of the expectations that you set are done during that kickoff meeting, right? And so you want to build that into your timeline. And so this is just a reminder that QAs are important and that they should be built into your timeline, and that everybody should know what's going to be expected of them, of how many reviews they're going to have to do. And even like how many reviews you want to do, right? If you're a freelancer, then you would write that in your scope of your project. You would write how many reviews are included in this price. And what's the feedback that you're looking for, right? So if you're handing in a script or a storyboard, you only want them to look at content. You want them to look at the text, what is said, is the content accurate, is the structure something that is that flows in a logical way, right? And then your prototype. That's when they can actually look for the design and the function, right? You don't want them to be looking at branding or any of that kind of stuff until they get to a prototype. The beta, right? That's when they should just be seeing like, does it work? Do learners know where to click? Is it easy to follow through? Are all the images relevant that are included? And then your final draft. Is there any typos, any buttons that don't work? Because the craziest thing happens, right? You'll go to fix a thing in an e-learning project, and sometimes fixing a thing breaks other things, right? And so that's why it's important, even after you go to fix something that you've gotten feedback on, to then go test it again before you give it back to them after you've implemented feedback. And then a final draft, right? And you guys have seen this several times throughout the academy, right? There's a difference between an opinion and feedback. Opinion is just, I don't like these colors, please change. Like, okay, thank you for your input, is what that feedback is. It's just an opinion. But you want to get specific feedback. And sometimes you just need to educate them on what specific feedback looks like to you. So if somebody was to give you the opinion, right, I don't like the colors, you would just say, could you tell me more about that? Could you be more specific? Which colors don't you like? What is it that, is not appealing to you? Is this important? This a nice to have or a need to have? Things like that, right? You can guide the conversation if people are giving you opinion feedback. Specific feedback, something like, I feel like the shade of orange used in the header text is a little too bright. Could you please change it to a lighter shade? That's specific feedback. That's something that you can work with. That's something that you're going to change. And that's something that I'm going to try and do for the courses that you guys have given me today, is give specific feedback. And then what do I mean by trying to break it? Stress testing. And so that could be stress testing in your learning management system, checking its compatibility with different browsers. Sometimes what you may find is that if you have a lot of videos in your storyline or your Captivate package, your course package, you like to zip it all up. That's what I mean by a package. It takes way too long to load, or you can actually, it can just kind of break because it's just too heavy and the servers aren't fast enough. There's not enough bandwidth, whatever those technical reasons are. And so you may have to host your videos in an outside video hosting platform like Vimeo, Wistia. Sometimes companies will let you use YouTube if it's private or unlisted. Sometimes they won't, just depends. And then you just embed those links in your storyline. And you may find that out when you do the stress testing, right? Just how big is that file going to be, and can it load quickly? You want to test on different devices, right? So you should know this before you build your course. Are your learners predominantly going to view it on mobile, desktop, their iPads, whatever? And so if you know ahead of time, then that means that you know that you're going to need to test certain devices. So if you've built a course to be mobile friendly, then you're going to have to test it on mobile. You're going to have to test it on the iPad, and of course the desktop. Portrait and landscaped, sometimes you can just lock it, right? But if you want it to go back and forth, you're going to have to test it, make sure that it still looks right. And then reporting, and that's usually in your learning management system. You'll want to go through, you want to load your course to the learning management system, test it, answer all the quiz questions, and then go back into the learning management system and see, did it capture all the reports that you want, right? Or if you get more complicated, you want to see if the things that you're trying to measure are getting reported into your learning management system. And then there's a couple different ways to test. I like to test different things each time. I kind of go through like with a wide sweeping pass. That's usually how I do it for the first round, and just catch the things that jump out at first, and then go through and look for only content and flow, then look for just design, then look for the function and the navigation. Sometimes you just find function and navigation right away, right in that first round, because you can't move forward or a button's broken, and you just call it out at that moment. And then the last thing could be your typos and your spelling and your grammar.